Hey everyone, and welcome to the Short Podcast, where we dive deep into football history and all its related topics. Today we're tackling a question that's probably blowing up your group chat right now. Who's the greatest? Who's better? But what if I told you the entire debate is flawed? That the numbers you're obsessed with are a complete lie? Alright, let's start with a little mental experiment. I want you to picture two players. Player A scored a total of 372 goals for both club and country, while assisting 109 times. Now imagine player B, who tallied 412 goals and 118 assists. Based on pure numbers, player B is the one, right? He outscored player A by 40 goals and had 9 more assists. He's the more productive player. So clearly, he's the greater player. Wrong. So very, very wrong, because the player with the lower stats is Fenomeno, Ronaldo Nazário, and the player with the higher stats is Romelu Lukaku. I'll give you a second to let that sink in. I mean, no one, not even after a 24-hour video game marathon fueled by caffeine and questionable snacks, would actually think Lukaku is a better footballer than Ronaldo. And yet, this is the version of history a kid might see in 30 years if all they have is a stat sheet. This is the great deception. This is the beautiful lie. The problem with stats is they're like a blurry photograph. They show you the subject but miss all the context. And in football, the context is everything. Think about players from the past who will be tragically forgotten by the stat-obsessed generation. Guys like Zinedine, Zidane, and Andrea Pirlo. Their numbers were, well, they won't make your jaw drop, but their greatness wasn't in goals or assists. It was in the ghost assist, that perfect pass that unlocks a defense and leads to the actual assist. They were the chess masters, not the pieces on the board. They dictated the tempo of the game with a flick of their foot, a skill you can't quantify with data. The same goes for the revolutionaries. Johan Cruyff didn't just play the game, he fundamentally redesigned it. He's the architect of total football, a system that changed everything, and his impact goes way beyond his own numbers. Or Paolo Maldini, a defender who was so good you barely noticed him, and that's the point. His numbers are about clean sheets and an insane 25-trophy career, not goal tallies. But in a world obsessed with scoring, how do you explain greatness that's about stopping it? So, why is this happening? Why are modern players padding their stats at an unprecedented rate? Let's break down the truth, piece by piece. 1. The human upgrade and the technology revolution. Let's step outside of football for a second. Think about the 100-meter dash. Back in 1936, Jesse Owens set a world record of 10.2 seconds. He did it on a dirt track wearing heavy leather shoes with no specific training regimen. Fast forward to Usain Bolt and his 9.58 second record. He ran on a perfectly engineered synthetic track in ultra lightweight spikes and with a personalized diet and a team of sports scientists dedicated to his every move. The step difference, when you break it down, the difference between them is roughly 14 feet at the finish line. That's a massive gap in a 100-meter race. But get this, sports scientists have analyzed Owens' biomechanics and concluded that if he'd had Bolt's technology, the gap would have been reduced to less than a single stride. It's not just about a better runner, it's a technological and scientific revolution. Football's equivalent, the same is true in football. Nutrition, training, and recovery methods are light years ahead, making players faster, stronger, and more durable. They have access to sports psychologists and mindset coaches who train them to handle pressure, a resource that was unheard of in the past. 2. Tactical evolution and specialization. Football in the 60s was all about catenaccio, an Italian system that was basically a beautiful, strategic way to park the bus and not concede goals. Teams were built to defend. Now, modern tactics are all about gegenpressing, a system designed to attack the moment you lose the ball. The old system was built for few shots on goal. The new system is designed for 100. This is a crucial point. Example, think about basketball. Back in the 80s, a player like Michael Jordan had to be a complete player, a scorer, a defender, a playmaker. Today, many players are hyper-specialized. You have a Stephen Curry who is a designated shooter and a Draymond Green who is a defender and a facilitator. This specialization is a direct result of the tactical shift. It allows players to master one specific high-value skill and pad their stats in that area. 3. The influence of financial empires. This one is a bit more cynical, but it's a real factor. The biggest brands like Nike and Adidas have billions tied to the biggest stars. They have a direct financial incentive to keep their stars healthy and playing, not injured on the sidelines. Example, Think about the NHL. Hockey is a brutally physical sport, but the best players rarely get into fights or endure the kind of physical punishment they used to. Why? Because the league and the sponsors have an interest in protecting their star players, the face of the league, from career-ending injuries. This influence puts immense, unspoken pressure on refereeing bodies. It's an unwritten rule. You do not take out the billion-dollar player. They protect their investment, which in turn protects the player's longevity, and you guessed it, their stats. 4. The super teams. In the past, talent was more evenly distributed. Now, thanks to the massive wealth of a few clubs, the best players in the world are concentrated into a few elite teams. This creates a talent gap where the top players pad their stats against a much weaker talent pool. Example: think of it like a video game where you play a max-level character against low-level enemies. The score will always look ridiculous. The same applies to modern football, where a few clubs dominate their leagues year after year. So, what's the final verdict? Is Romelu Lukaku a better player than Ronaldo Nazário? We know the answer. The truth is, the stats are not just a simple reflection of talent, they are a product of technology, tactical evolution, and economic forces. So the next time you see a stat sheet, ask yourself, what is it not telling me? What ghosts are hiding in the numbers? What unsung heroes defined an era without ever topping a modern metric? Let's take a moment for the true legends who won't be remembered by their stats. Socrates, Garrincha, Franco Baresi, Gaetano Cherea, Michael Laudrup, Matt Letizier, Gabriel Batistuta, Juan Roman Riquelme, Davor Schuker, Enzo Chivu, Jorge Hagi, Claude Makelele, Ronald Koeman, Jari Litmanen, and Lothar Matthäus. Their greatness was about artistry, revolution, and spirit, not just numbers. And is the game we love becoming a perfect yet soulless machine? The truth, as always, is far more complex than a number. Thanks for tuning in to the short podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit the like button and tell a friend. And in the comments below, tell me, who's a football legend you remember that the new generation has forgotten?